Hey guys, as promised, we're here again with the episode number 2 of the putting series. I'm here with Blair Philip. You know him by now from the last video, and you should know him already. Okay, so and you should meet him at some point. But today we have a really interesting topic. It's putting design or putter design and how influences
Right.
performance, how to decide which one's better for you, and we're gonna try to keep it as simple as possible. But maybe a lot of people don't know which powder they should
Yeah.
get, and they just go sometimes for the fancy one, right?
Right.
And not necessarily is the one that worked for them.
Correct.
So we're gonna talk about powder design today.
Yeah. Well, there's so many different features in putters: weighting, aesthetics, finishes, aiming lines, balance, weight distribution, moment of inertia. And then spin balancing, and then you've got your zero torque is the buzzword right now in golf. And but which one fits you as a practical matter? Which putter is the one that's going to help you perform better. And so it depends on a lot of things. There's a lot to be considered when you're just deciding to pick a putter. And so we can go through some of the options, some of the most popular designs, and why they may or may not work for you.
And we're gonna talk about a really hot brand that is out there, maybe in the middle of the video,
Okay.
the
Lab
Lab
Golf. Yeah,
Golf.
Lab Golf is the zero torque putter series. It's one of the number one questions I get. What do I need a lab putter and why? And
So stay with us because we're gonna talk about Lab Golf maybe at the end of the video. So just stay with us and we'll discuss that. All right. So which putter you want to start with?
we got so many.
A lot of putters here.
What we ought to do, first of all, let's start with some of the classics and why they do and don't work. Some of the buzzwords in golf right now. So I'm going to start with an old design. It's actually probably one of the most winning putter designs in history, and it's a blade putter. Blade putters are obviously thinner here. From front to back, but this one's based after the old Ping answer style. You notice the distribution of weight in the heel and the toe. That's really what Karsten Soldheim did with Ping, is he redistributed the weight, made them more forgiving. This one has offset as well, which is often indicated for people that are left eye dominant. They usually like offset and having a line in the back of the putter. Aiming is the number one feature of a putter that most people overlook right away.
Yeah.
So do you need a putter with a larger head profile with a long line on it like this one, or could you get away with a blade like this that has a face that's forward of the shaft? How do you aim it, and what influences aim in putters is individual, yet there are some correlations. And generally speaking, left eye dominant people use lines in the back of the putter to aim their putter. They reference geometry behind the face, and then they use their peripheral vision to basically triangulate the face square. Whereas right eye dominant people tend to like less offset, maybe even onset, where the face is in front of the shaft. You can see the face is in front of the shaft on this one. And typically, right eye dominant people are distracted by features on the back of the putter. They usually like lines or dots on the top edge, or they face features. So thin front lines, dots, lines on the front, not so much on the back, and not so much offset, usually. That's
So
a
if you want to say a fact of how much a line or a dot influences the aiming or the performance of each putter, depending on if they're right eye dominant or left eye dominant, how much that affects like the
It's
line or the
about,
dot.
well, there's a correlation. So statistically, I see about 80% of people that are right eye dominant use less offset, or should use less offset, or even onset with the face features on the front of the club,
Yeah.
and vice versa. So
Okay.
it's about 80-20. It's not a hard and fast rule. The number one thing is that they stand correctly and they have the right length. Then the features of the putter are considered too.
How much amateur players, because I know you see from beginners, amateurs to professional players. You had the opportunity to be with Munoz last week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just a huge difference of skill level from a beginner, amateur, or professional player. When does a player has to really be concerned about lines or dots on their putter?
At the beginning, because if you can't aim a putter, you can't play golf.
Yeah.
If you're aiming where the hole is not, then you're going to have different. And the lines and the features of the putter often really help a player. It's easy to determine just through going through a fitting process,
Yeah.
but it's hard to perceive by yourself.
Yeah, of course.
And so we have some tools on in the camera system, the Quintic system that I use. You can actually track where the club face is aiming in real time,
Yeah.
and understand where the player feels the hole is versus where it actually is, and that can be super important.
Okay. Well, we can talk about a first putter and see the characteristics of each one and
Yeah,
how you can choose which putter works for you.
yeah. Okay. Well, of these putters here that I have in front of me, there are certain putters that are indicated for experienced players, and then there are features of putters that can help inexperienced players play better. For example, this putter here, although it has the mass distributed to the heel and toe, it doesn't have a huge moment of inertia. And a moment of inertia is simply the object's resistance to twisting on a mishit. So inertially, it will, if you hit it off the toe or heel, it'll either open or close, depending off. And then this putter is, it's an old design. It goes back 60, 70 years.
Yeah, it's old school.
So although it's good for somebody that hits it consistently in the middle of the face, somebody that is not very experienced might use something like this, where you can see that the weight is distributed around the putter, where the club was much more resistant to a change in direction or a twisting if you happen to mishit it somewhere other than the line.
Yeah.
So this is really forgiving for people that just want to enjoy the game and are starting out. It's forgiving for anybody, so that's why we see a lot more mallets being used even in the professional ranks.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Scotty Scheffler changing from a blade to a mallet, and he started making more putts.
Yeah,
and he's number one in the world.
I'd be willing to bet it's because he aimed it better, but because he doesn't use very much of the club face. But for amateur golfers, there's quite a big difference. At least there's quite an array of percussion points or points of strike. Amateurs don't hit it in the middle of the face as much, anywhere near as much as professionals do, so they can benefit greatly from something with a higher moment of inertia, or MOI, as they say.
I'm gonna dare to say this, but I see that a lot of people don't pay attention where the shaft is, of the angle of the shaft. I know we talk about lights and everything,
Yeah.
and they just go for the looks. But I think this is really important also to talk about, like, on design, because like you said here on this one has a different shape. This one's in the middle of the face of the putter, so it's just not how it looks.
It's how it performs.
It's how it performs, right?
So this old putter here has it's what's called toe hang. The toe droops below the heel when you suspend it like this on the shaft. So when you balance it horizontally, the toe wants to be. So that just basically indicates, when it's moving, how resistant the club will be to motion. Is the toe heavier than the heel? Now, if you're swinging a putter and letting it just swing, then the toe will tend to stay fairly square to its path. A lot of people say that these are indicated for people with, inside to inside arcs, right? Like an arcing motion. Well, that's true, but only if that arc is swinging with a fairly low rate of acceleration. If you accelerate this club too quickly, if you push on it, you've got a short backstroke and a fast follow through. The toe will resist the change in direction and it'll
Mm-hmm.
open. Whereas putters like this one that are spin balanced, like this is a lab blade. It's got a large moment of inertia because the weight is in the heel and toe, but it's basically spin balance, which means the heel and the toe are equally resistant to a change in direction. So you can actually push this pretty hard, and you notice the face doesn't change direction. See that? So people with poor timing can use the lab putters really well if they're people that rush through impact.
Yeah.
Whereas professionals that have learned to control their acceleration can also use a toe heavy putter or a spin balanced or zero torque putter as well. Zero torque works for amateurs. It helps them hit it straighter down the line, but you still have to match pace in the line. So you're going to have to learn how to control acceleration at some point.
Yeah, of
But at
course.
least you'll hit it on line more often.
But if you're not a if you're not an experienced player, I mean, it's helpful that you have a putter that fits your skill level.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if you're trying to build that skill level with a putter that is not good enough for you at the beginning, it will be harder.
Yeah. Yeah. You'll also won't enjoy the game as much.
Yeah,
It's
of
it's
course.
just simple.
For people that is watching, if you can explain a little bit more what is zero torque, when
Yeah.
we're talking about this.
Zero torque is an industry buzzword right now. Everyone's talking about it. It's basically the putter is balanced in such a way where the center of the shaft's axis goes right through the middle of the part's center mass, which means this part has a center of gravity. The shaft goes right into that center of gravity, which means that you can spin it on its axis fairly freely. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Lab Golf has a patent on the grips. They have some design patents on the shapes and so on. Um, the but the spin balance putter's been around for 20 years or 20 over 20 years.
And why only now it's getting out there, or not getting out there, but why now it's getting a little bit more traction or more exposure?
Well, Lab's done a really good job of marketing.
Yeah.
They've also done a really good job. You can see these weights here. They balance their putters really, really well. So when you get a Lab putter, it is balanced to the lie angle, and so it can be fitted. There are options in terms of colors, lines, aiming lines. So you can customize these things a lot in a lot of different ways. Even the shaft or the grip, you can.
Because I see that lap putters also have a particular position of the grip in relationship to the shaft, right?
Mm-hmm. Most grips, the axis of the shaft goes straight up through the middle of the grip. Lab Golf has several different models of grip, and the shaft, for a right-hander, the shaft starts at the back of the grip and goes diagonally through the grip, which helps to promote a little forward lean in the shaft, which can help mostly amateur golfers create better rotation. So anytime the face is in front of the shaft and you've got a little forward lean in the shaft, that tends to launch the ball earlier, or lower, I should say, and start the ball rolling earlier. And so,
something that we were working on my swing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. A lot of people can benefit from that. Now, obviously, there's competition. We've got an Odyssey putter here. You can see they've spin balanced their putter as well, and they've got the shaft.
This is something new that they're doing right now.
This is a new design. Yeah, this is their blade style. They also have some
but based on what Lab Golf is
correct.
doing,
It's
right?
a reaction to the success that Lab's having.
Okay.
And then the company that I founded, called Breakthrough Golf, just created a technology that's called Paradox, and it's also spin balanced. You can see that, but the difference in this one is that it's weighted differently. You can see
I can see that.
High weighting in the toe, low weighting in the heel, which tilts the weighting axis towards the shaft, which is how the club is actually swung. So it's weighted. It's actually balanced on the swing plane that you swing it.
How can visually this shape of putter could affect someone that could use it? Because it's not what we're used to, right?
No, it's not what you're used to. When you put it on the ground, it looks pretty good. Like you can see it almost looks like regular putter. But
And I see that you have the shaft
yeah, that comes
the
with it.
stability shaft.
Yeah, the stability shaft is something we also created here in Dallas, and that comes with the Paradox putter. So it's actually not bad.
I'm very happy with mine.
It's a pretty good deal. But this is just taking that same spin balance or zero torque design and taking it another step further, so that it's balanced a little differently. So every manufacturer has their own slant on things, but for lack of a better word, this has got a really big slant. But it's all sort of it's in reaction to the trend. It's that Lab Golf's created.
There is a very popular putter that, well, it was very popular back in the day. Probably is popular right now too. The two balls.
Two ball, yeah.
What are your thoughts on that putter? Why
Well,
is good for, because, well, from what I heard, or from what I know, it was a really good putter to learn how to putt.
yeah.
What?
Well, it happened to have a two ball here, and the design of this is quite an old design. This is about 25 years old, I think, when they first came out. Maybe 28 years old, or years ago. Now the two ball design it's basically an alignment feature, and it's based on human beings' necessity or need to align things.
Yeah.
And now you can put this. This is what's called a gestalt design. So what it means is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The human brain can easily see when those dots are misaligned. They're not really sharp features; they're general features. But our brain's really good at aligning features and making sense of the world. And
Yeah.
the way that they designed this was really brilliant. It was really a smart idea, because it's not super refined, and most people do a pretty good job, and you can be left eye dominant or right eye dominant and do a pretty good job of aligning this because of the way that it's done. First of all, it's round, it's not linear. Some people see round shapes and they align them better than
Yeah.
blocks or straight lines. Um, it's also face balanced, which means that the shaft axis goes through the center of gravity of the part, um, if you bisect the part, but it's not spin balanced. You can see
Let's see
it's
the difference, because
yeah.
that's really interesting.
Yeah, so this one the face configures straight up. So what this really means is the shaft cuts the middle of the putter. If you were to bisect this putter right down the center of gravity, the shaft would go through that center of gravity. Now it still hangs back down and face up, which means it's face balanced. This is also indicated for people that tend to push a little hard through impact. They accelerate a lot, but it's not toe down like this one, right? So this was a great. No, face balanced putters have been around forever. The original two ball was actually designed by Dave Pels, who is a putting guru of note from Palm Springs area, and Pels has done a lot of teaching. He's a short game expert. His original design was a lot longer and had four actual golf balls on top of a rail, and it was used to win many tournaments on the PGA Tour before the USGA banned it, and took it away. And then they came out with this one,
Okay.
which was easier. Yeah,
I didn't know that
yeah.
part.
But this is the history of it. But these are still selling really well because of the feature. I mean, the
Yeah, so
align
would you say that this will be a good design that mixes the visual part of either having a dot or even or having a line? This could help a lot.
Yeah, it takes the finicky, super precise nature of an alignment line and blends it. It's a lot easier for some people to use those larger shapes to aim it. It's also, it helps. You can imagine as you set up to this, the ball's going to be here, so it's actually three ball if you wanted to be
Yeah.
precise, and it's the brain wants to make those all straight. So
Yeah, it's
it's
gonna be
very
easier to
simple.
follow.
It's intuitive. and it also helps you move the putter generally straight. You can see the motion. It's almost like a strobe. You can see the ball. Imagine in your mind's eye those balls coming into the other ball and then
Yes.
leaving the face. So, a lot of people that visualize moving the putter in a straight line enjoy this one as well, and that's why they made most of them face balanced. The original, the original golf clubs were they didn't have high moment of inertia, and the father of increasing the moment of inertia and incorporating that into golf club design was Karsten Solheim at Ping. He designed the first heel toe distributed putters,
Yeah.
and there's all sorts of stories about how he did that. But he was a brilliant engineer, and he used casting for the first time to create that thin face
Ping
distribution.
Ping has the answer, right?
The answer putter was designed by Karsten Solheim. It used to have a W in the name, but they took out the W because it didn't fit on the toe of the putter. So
Really?
yeah, so he couldn't get answer with a W, so he just spelled it ANSER. That's a little known fact, but that's why they chose it.
Yeah, that's a good fact.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the face of the putter, the design of the face of the putter. We can see different shapes on different putters. So how can that influence also the performance, or how you can choose that for your putter? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So there are several different inserts and face treatments that they used on putter faces. The general plan when you're using an insert is to change the feel of the putter and the sound of the putter. You can also influence the ball speed coming off the club face. A lot of putters have grooves. Like this is an old Yes putter. It had a C groove shape. These are quite deep. They're all regulated by the United States Golf Association body for rules. This is another putter that I designed that has grooves on it. What grooves do is they increase or they decrease the surface area and they increase the time on the face. It's called dwell time. So basically what it does is it creates more friction between the club face and the
And the
ball,
ball.
and it influences rotation. For people with good mechanics, it'll create sooner initial roll
Like
and
forward roll.
more of it. So it'll keep the ball on line. The ball tend to go over bumps and spike marks and stuff like that. Where Odyssey originally put was bowling ball material, plastic in their original Odyssey. They were black faces. And then they went to a white hot, and then this is the black version of the white hot, I guess, and created a created a nicer sound, a more softer sound, and a lot of tour players embraced that, and they became very successful doing that.
Okay.
There is a limit to how slow the ball can come off the face. Certain polymers will absorb a lot of energy, and they just don't work for golf. And so there's a really fine line. You have to do a lot of research to choose your insert hardness.
Yeah.
Inserts also they can also help the ball roll if they're if they have the right rebound. But generally the grooves or face treatments are there to influence feel, and then if they have grooves like this with angles, different angles, usually it's to increase the time on the face and increase the roll or
Yeah.
influence the roll of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, so there's not just one or two things that you need to take into consideration to choose your putter. There's a lot of things involved on having the right tool, right?
Yeah.
In order to make more putts, and in order to have a better outcome or a better result when you're putting. So to finish, what would be a recommendation for every player, so they can choose their putter wisely, besides getting fitted, right?
Yeah.
Like, why, if they refuse to get fitted, because you see a lot of people that they don't want to get fitted. I don't know why. You should get fitted. That's a smart thing to do
Yep.
because you're spending a lot of money on your golf. So having the right clubs for you, it's the right thing to do. I think that's the first thing you have to do. But what would be our recommendation for everyone to on what they have to look at when they're on the market to get a putter?
Yeah, I think it's in order of importance. It would be how forgiving the putter is. If you don't play a lot, you could use a putter with a high moment of inertia. There are a lot of different ones. The larger club heads are usually, and heavier club heads. The weight of the head actually increases the moment almost more than the design does.
Yeah.
The second feature you would want to be able to aim it. It's important. If you can't aim your putter, you can't use it. And so the features on the putter, generally speaking, right-eye dominant people need less offset, not so much offset, and features on the front of the putter. And then the opposite for left-eye dominant people, long lines, more offset, a little bit more offset, and then features that are towards behind the club face. Generally, that's a general rule. And
Okay.
then the length of the putter has to be fitted, or at least should be close to what you might need. So if you're 5'1", you're not going to use a 35-inch putter.
Correct.
Probably use something around 32 inches at the most. And if you're 6'7", you're going to use something that's probably 36, 37 inches long. Just so that you're comfortable. There's part of it is ergonomics too. Is it too short? Does it make your back hurt if you practice a lot?
Do we agree that language also will be correlated or will be influenced by how you grip, right? Or how you
Yes,
set up,
yeah.
right?
So you can imagine if your left hand low, that drops the left shoulder lower, so you don't need quite as you might need a little extra room. In addition, if your putter's too long, then your eyes are going to move away from the target, which usually causes you to aim to the right, and vice versa. People that are right-eye dominant that have a putter that's too short, they'll have their eyes over the line, like too far over the line, and they'll start aiming wildly in both directions because they can't see.
Yeah.
And so the length of the putter is really important. And then something you like the look of, something that you like,
Yeah. It
instill
looks good from the
confidence.
top. Yeah.
If your ball hops off the green, you want something with less loft, or face forward, meaning like a lab putter has the face forward, or the new Paradox from Breakthrough Golf has the face in front of the shaft, and that gets the ball on the ground early and rolling.
Okay.
So a lot of people that watch their ball skipping and hopping, they can use a face forward putter or adjust the loft, but
Yeah.
face forward really works.
Well, that's a lot of information.
Yeah.
There you have it, guys. There's not only one thing that you have to think about when you're choosing a putter. You want to take a lot of things that we talk about into consideration. If you can do it by yourself, here's my good friend Blair. They can help you with that.
Yeah, come in and see us.
We're here on the Golf Lab in Plano, and so you can have the right putter for you.
Yeah, you need to have the right putter. It's 48% of your strokes at least, and that's if you're good. So why not invest in a good putter and a good fitting, because it really will save you a lot of strokes.
Yeah, there you go.
All right,
Blair,
thanks, Anato.
thank you so
All
much
right.
again.